scenarios, nobody really knows who's going to win. I mean, it could honestly be, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Undertaker.
I know last year they changed the finish during the match. I believe Roman Reigns was supposed to win. Then they went out and did the whole take him out and put him through the table type thing.
Right.
And then I guess they changed it halfway through the Rumble and had Triple H win it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because they were trying to do the whole Stone Cold thing, and that obviously didn't work out too well. I mean, there were some parts that worked, and then the other parts where it's yeah, that doesn't work out too well. But anyway, we'll again talk more about that when we get into the Rumble panel. We got to still talk a little bit about SmackDown, is there anything that I probably left out for Raw? Maybe we should mention the fact Mick Foley's new look. He's going back to the early
I don't know what's going on. The last 2 weeks, he's shown up with shorter hair each week, and he trimmed his beard. He looks good, but he looks weird to me. My wife was like, I think he looks nice. I'm like, yeah, he looks nice, but he looks freaking weird to me because I'm so used to the long hair and the long beard. Yeah. But I don't know, maybe corporate was like, hey, you need to corporate it up a little bit.
He's going back to the Commissioner Foley of the 2000s.
Yeah. I want to bring up the fact that old HB Shizzle came out on Raw and delivered some sweet chin music to Rusev. That was pretty dope. I was a little underwhelmed with HBK, but I did like the little segment with Enzo and Cass. Frickin' Enzo Amore is killing me on that scooter. It is just, there's certain people in this business that can do things that nobody else can. Guys like Chris Jericho that can make a list and get it more over than Roman Reigns. I remember when the list of Jericho started in our wrestling group on Facebook. I said, Chris Jericho is going to make this list thing genius because just remember the last time he did a list. I mean, people still bring that up to this day. That was a list of counter holds that he knows for Dean Malenko's 1001, I believe it was, or Madam 1000 holds.
Yeah.
And Chris Jericho had 1004 that he knew.
I know 4 extra.
Yeah, it was, and then he's got this new list, and the catchphrases, the gift of Jericho, drink it in, the list of Jericho, ink it in, the hug of Jericho, bring it in, cage of Jericho, lock it in. He's just, everything he's doing is brilliant. I kind of, a couple weeks ago, was like, dude, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and Mick Foley need their own TV show on, the WWE Network. It would probably be the highest rated show on the network. Oh,
gosh, yeah. I think that would be phenomenal, to say the least. Maybe they can make a cameo during the maybe rebooted Edge and Christian's show that totally reeks of awesomeness. Bring back a season 2, please. That would be awesome.
Yeah, Enzo's one of those guys, though. He kind of has, hits, kind of to punt on Jericho, but I don't think anybody else, maybe other than Jericho, that could freaking put over a motorized scooter, use it in his routine, and still make it freaking epic. I especially love when it comes out and he does the 360 spin. I die every time. I'm freaking laughing.
Oh, man. It's just amazing how much creativity can go a long way, especially when you got one of those minds where it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to make this look like, I'm going to take this, 5-cent, chicken shit and just make it into like a $500 chicken salad. And Enzo and Jericho, geez Louise.
Some people can't do it. You couldn't have, take Sami Zayn. I don't think he could do the list of Zayn or anything. It wouldn't work for him.
No.
Big Cass couldn't do what Enzo's doing with the scooter. Rusev couldn't do anything of the sorts, but it's just the right character doing the right thing. Charisma goes a long way.
Can you believe the amount of movies that they listed during that segment? And even HBK got a little notch in of Dumber and Dumber. It's like, oh wow.
I was waiting for Dumb and Dumber.
Oh man.
But Big Cat killed him with a penis.
Oh man.
Oh man, they went there.
It just amazing. And they're starting to win, I think, people back. I'm hoping that they get it back into the tag team title picture soon. I think that, this whole Rusev, Jinder Mahal, Enzo and Cass thing is going to go on for a little while longer, but I do not see it going past.
Anytime they have some kind of triangle with Lana involved, they did it with Ziggler and Summer Rae, and that was just a big steaming pile of hot garbage.
Yeah.
And I didn't like this whole thing with Rusev and Enzo and Cass. I think the only good thing that came out of it was that interaction between Enzo and Ric Flair. That's probably the only good thing that came out of it, because those two together was also like just promo money.
Yeah, I think that. In all honesty, I think that this triangle, quote unquote, between Enzo, Lana, and Rusev, I think it's working a lot better than it did back then. The Rusev Ziggler Lana deal back then. I think that there's getting a little more comedic value out of it, and I think there's a purpose behind it. It's just taking a little long to get to that final, I guess, climax, you could say, the final chapter where it's just like, finally we can move on from this rivalry. And
I was actually really surprised. Like, I thought Rusev was pretty damn funny last night too. Like, he was making these, like, he kept having these little one-liners, and I thought, it almost, at one point, it looked like he was out there, and I thought he, cracked a smile, and it looked like he was having fun. But, how could you not have fun with Shawn Michaels in that ring?
This is very true. One more thing before we move on from
He's like, the crowd's chanting sweet chin music, and Shawn Michaels looked at Rusev and he's like, can you even get your leg up that high? And I can't remember what Rusev's response was, but it was hilarious.
Well, one more thing before we move on from Raw to SmackDown Live. Can you believe that they are still doing very well with Braun Strowman, the guy who nobody would have guessed about a year ago would even be close to being as relevant as he is right now? And honestly, probably one of the more bigger success stories when it comes to big guy wrestlers. He's been very...
Well, if you look at him last year in the Rumble, by himself, he showed how great he was. He wasn't very safe. I don't think there's a lot of criticism from... other podcast people that we know. There were some articles online also I saw saying that, really wasn't, it really showed how green he was. He's come a long way since then. I thought that, was it 2 weeks ago, the Last Man Standing match with Sami Zayn?
Yeah, I think it was.
That Raw for me. I thought that match was brutal, and I thought it was the best part of Raw, and they're really putting him over. The Goldberg Roman Reigns double spear, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're making. I think they're making him their next giant. Like, he's the next big man.
Yeah, I think it is pretty awesome to see that, and at least they're doing it in a non-comedic kind of way, like they did with Ray Khali or stuff like that. Granted, Braun Strowman has had some comedic moments, but they're kind of very, very subtle. They're not completely obvious. It's just one of those things where it's just oh, he's being serious, but at the same time, it's like that kind of serious, funny, where he would say to Jericho, I want that scarf. I want that scarf. And then he just rips it up and says, I don't like scarves. It's like, he's serious, but it's funny. It's just one of those things where it's like he's just trying to be a dick, but in the most, non-joking way. And it's one of those things that got me hooked on him. It's like, okay, he can be funny, but not in a purposefully jokey kind of way.
He didn't have practice being a rosebud.
Okay, maybe there's a little bit of Adam Rose in him. That's probably why. But one other thing is that while Undertaker was announcing that he was going to be in the Rumble, they did show Braun Strowman watching backstage watching The Undertaker make that announcement. Is that a foreshadowing to a possible feud between Braun and Taker?
Possibly. I know last year Vince wanted Braun Strowman versus Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Right.
I can't remember when that came out, but the internet backlash for that was so horrible. Like, it was one of the, I think, very few times that I can remember where the internet backlash actually, like, physically changed the storyline for WWE because they changed it after all the backlash.
Yeah, but I think that if they were to try and do that now, I think it would work better because at least now he's developed some kind of character. He's developed some kind of persona behind him. Back then, he was just kind of this guy that was in the background for, the Wyatt family. He was kind of the big muscle, not really much there. I think this year, time around, if they did it would be. I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. I would definitely be much more okay with it this year. Like you said, with him being on his own, they're really, really making him this straight-up beast mode character on Raw. I mean, he was going through jobbers and jobbers, left and right, taking 2 or 3 on at a time. Then Sami Zayn, but now he's come out and he's taken out Reigns, he's taken out Rollins, he's taken out several people. He kind of did an Austin thing on Raw a couple weeks ago where he just came out and laid waste to everybody, I think Kane and Undertaker did that once too, where they just kept coming out and destroying people. So, yeah, that could be, we could have a battle of the big men at WrestleMania. Who knows? They would really, really make Braun Strowman a beast if they put him over Taker. But, yeah, I don't know. This year's shaping up to be one of those things where it's like, I have so many storylines for, like, what could be based off of what I've read, like, combined with, like, my own ideas and, like, how I think it would go. But, yeah, it could go anywhere.
Yeah, I think it also comes into play the fact that they have less injuries and less suspensions like they had last year. This time around, it's like, okay, they got more people to work with, so there's more possibilities. So this might actually work out very well. But again, we'll get more into that in our Royal Rumble panel in just a few weeks. Moving on to SmackDown, kicking off with the Ambrose Asylum. First of all, I want to say Maurice the Alligator basically replacing the plant was just awesome. I love how he first talks about, he says, we would have gotten a real gator, but, we couldn't get the permits or we couldn't get the rights. It's like, oh, well. Gee, I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, Maurice the Alligator, it's no Mitch the Plant.
Mitch the Plant, that's what I was thinking of.
I think it was Mitch, wasn't it?
I think it was. I was trying to remember the name, but I couldn't remember who it was, because I remember he named his plant, but the name slipped in my mind.
Mitch.
I think it was Mitch, yeah. But
I just want to say it right away, how good did The Miz look tonight? That suit he wore, wow, that thing was awesome. Like, when he came out, I even looked at my wife, I was like, damn, look at that suit. Like, I bet he spent a pretty penny on it.
He did look pretty swag. I usually don't say that many positive things about The Miz, but I will admit that he did look very swag tonight. And then,
well, just the Miz is kind of been I've always been a fan of The Miz. I was super happy when he was world champ, years and years ago, feuding with Cena. I mean, hey, he's got a WrestleMania victory over John Cena, which not that many people have. So it's definitely a notch on his belt, but this last year, 2016, he was one of my honorable mentions for, Superstar of the Year. Like, the things he did with that Intercontinental Championship, when he says he brought prestige and, honor back to it, I don't think he's joking. He really did.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. A lot of his matches were very memorable, which, ironically, was very interesting because he did basically play the, I guess, the hypocrite in that sense, because he said, Dean, do the right thing and hand over the title back over to me. And I just immediately on